first question is, was there any pushback against brain death in 1968? Not much, is what I would say. Certainly, there was no pushback by me. I was doing my work in neonatology and doing what was necessary, and other doctors were. We trusted the neurologist. After all, it was done at Harvard, so we trust Harvard. What happened before 1968? The 1st of December in 1967, Christian Bernard did a heart transplant in South Africa. 3 days later, they did a heart transplant in Brooklyn, New York at Montefiore Hospital. They cut the beating heart out of a 3-day-old baby who had a problem with the brain and transplanted it into an 18-day-old baby who had a problem with the heart. Both babies died. It was illegal. It was immoral. Remember, early December, by the 1st of February, they set up a committee. And the committee at Harvard invented brain death. Why did they invent brain death? So they could get hearts for transplant, so they can get organs for transplant. And that's why it was invented. Not much controversy. We can look back and say, well, gosh, the theologians or somebody should have paid more attention. The only thing I can tell you, my own personal self, I didn't start to pay attention until Joseph had death written on his chart and he wasn't dead. And that's when I began to study it. And believe me, I didn't set out to make my life to be talking about what I talk about. But it happened, and so I'm still doing it. What's the Academy of Neurology proposed brain death definition? It has to do with criteria, and it's basically the criteria that I showed you, the 3 criteria: absence of response to pain, absence of brainstem reflexes, and then the apnea test. And then what occurs is that there are functions of the brain, like the brain has a thermostat that keeps our temperature. They say that doesn't count. The brain makes thyroid stimulating hormone, makes hormones that control our salt and water. And maybe 70% of the patients called brain dead have evidence of a functioning hypothalamus. 70% of functioning hypothalamus. Part of that has to do with doing thyroid tests. They won't do the thyroid test. We have to do everything. They should be doing the thyroid test as soon as they come in, unconscious. They should be doing it. And thyroid stimulating hormone. So what's the Academy of Neurology want to do? They don't want any tests done for thyroid stimulating hormone. They want to say that doesn't count. They already are saying it doesn't count. The law is a big farce because it says cessation of all functions of the entire brain. They don't even test them, and then those functions that they don't want to consider, they just make it peripheral to the question whether the hypothalamus, which is part of the brain, is functioning. And then they get misleading because some people will say, the largest part of the brain is the cerebrum, the next largest part is the cerebellum, and then the brainstem, just to have 3 parts of the brain. None of the criteria are for cerebellum. It's impossible to evaluate the cerebellum in an unconscious person because the test of it is touch my nose, touch something else, close my eyes, see if I can hold my balance. You can't do that in an unconscious person. So the Academy of Neurology, the same as I told you, about 30 disparate sets from the Harvard criteria. Everyone becomes less strict. The Academy of Neurology guidelines, what they did is they proposed to the Uniform Law Commission to change the criteria. They studied it for at least 2 years and then came to the conclusion that they couldn't. There were a number of people that complained, that were concerned. I can tell you that what we did, We collected 444 signatures, and we put them on one sheet of paper. I mean, each one a separate sheet of paper. Presented that to the Academy to stop them from revising. They wanted to make the revision of the Uniform Determination of Death even less strict to coincide with the Academy of Neurology. So what did the Academy of Neurology did? Within a few months, they published their new criteria anyway. The whole thing is set up to get organs. It's a multi-billion-dollar business, industry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the question is, what about GIP, which is global ischemia perfusion? Penumbra, global ischemia penumbra. The word penumbra is like a shadow. It's there, but you can't see it. So global means the whole brain, ischemia, decreased circulation, penumbra. So what happens is that when the brain circulation gets decreased, there can still be enough for vitality, but not enough to observe it. And then if they do the apnea test, it makes them get worse. So it takes away that vitality. That doctor, by the way, is Dr. Coimbra, Cicero Coimbra. We're good friends. We stay in communication fairly often, and I've been communicating with him for 25 years. Why? Because they wanted to take away his license because he was taking a stand against brain death. And so, writing letters since that time, we've gotten to know each other. Dr. Coimbra went to Rome and helped Pope John Paul II with the Parkinson's. There's a protocol for Parkinson by Dr. Coimbra. You can look up the internet and get it for people who have Parkinson's. Let's see. It says the brain, reduces. Okay. I think I took care of that. Do all brain dead patients properly treated live? Well, first of all, in medicine, we're always cautious about all and never. But people don't die of brain death, at least for the most part. They can die like the young lady that I'm telling you about. Her head wasn't damaged or mashed by like a motorcycle injury, that kind of thing. So it's different. She doesn't have that healing from the outside that has to happen. I told you about Alan declared brain dead. It's 10 years. They almost drowned. TK, 20 years. They declared brain dead. They don't die from brain death. Brain death means that's the signal to cut out your organs or to stop your treatment. And then, so far as the treatment is concerned, the ventilator helps to get air in. But when somebody's on a ventilator, in about 48 hours, the muscles for breathing get weaker. And once somebody's on a ventilator for about 2 weeks, it's very difficult to get them off the ventilator unless you do the tracheostomy, which makes it easier to breathe and easier to wean them off. We have to fight to get them to do it. Mariana, a 12-year-old girl in California, was declared brain dead. It's even written on her chart that she was brain dead. We went to court and with her aunt and another doctor and myself and stopped them from doing that another apnea test. She continues to live. I talked to her mother about 2 days ago about how to adjust the ventilator, what to do with it. She has 7 siblings. They all are participating in her care. Okay, I know many people will say I'm going to die anyway, and I don't want to live as a vegetable. And vegetable is there. When I see that, I say, well, do they mean a squash or a sweet potato, or what do they mean? A vegetable is different. That term gets used loosely. Okay, what's the issue with donating my organs? How should we respond to this? Well, the issue with donating your organs is that essentially you can't donate any organs after you're dead. You have to be alive. So, can you kill yourself? Can you kill somebody else? Doctors, the basic Hippocratic oath is not to kill, not to harm. That's what we do. And everything that doctors, nurses, respiratory therapists do should be to protect and preserve the life of the person. If it doesn't protect and preserve the life, don't do it. Respiratory therapists will come to me and they'll say, Dr. So-and-so said that turn off the ventilator. What should I do? I said, well, have Dr. So-and-so come and turn off the ventilator himself. The doctors don't do it. They get somebody else to do it. A person is always a human person, never a vegetable. There are what people call vegetative functions, but they have to do with the power of the soul. Powers of the soul, yes, the powers we pay attention to have to do with the intellect, the search for the truth, the will, the search for the good. There are other powers of the soul, the augmentative power to grow, the nutritive power, the sentient power, the locomotive power to move. Locomotive doesn't just mean to walk. It's movement of the blood when there's circulation. So those are powers of the soul. Those things happen only when somebody's alive. When the soul is gone, there's no powers of the soul, and so in the person who's on a ventilator, if there's any power of the soul, we're not free to call them dead. We're not free to do it. What's the issue with donating organs? The issue is simple. It didn't begin with me that you shouldn't kill somebody. Talk to Moses. Talk to Jesus. I mean, so what's the issue? You shouldn't be killing somebody or harming them. What's the church's stance on this? I've heard statements that seem vague or conflicting. Well, I'm not sure if I can make this go forward, but we'll try, see if I can. Okay, the church's position about all of this goes back. The Council of Vienna in 1312 and the fifth Council of the Lateran after that. It says, every doctrine or proposition asserting substance of the rational intellectual soul is essentially the form of the human body. It goes on to say, anyone who asserts that the soul is not the form of the human body is to be considered a heretic. It's very simple. It's been there since 1300. So, the soul is whole and entire in the whole, and whole and entire in each part. And if there is a soul, you can't call them dead. The Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 365, the unity of the soul and body is so profound that one has to consider the soul to be the form of the body. By form means like informed. It informs the body. It gives the life. Because of its spiritual soul, that the body made of matter becomes a living human body. Spirit and matter in man are not two natures united, but rather their union forms a single nature. So it's a unity of the body and soul in one. Sometimes what the people are trying to do is they try to make the spiritual and the physical kind of be like next to each other. And then if we have the physical, we don't know about the spiritual or whatever it is. No. It isn't that way. The teaching of the church is quite clear that life is the substantial fact of the unity of the soul and the body. To go further then, Pope Benedict, which is the most recent statement that comes from the magisterium of the church, which is basically the Pope, And there's different ways that he communicates. This was in a presentation, but what he said is individual vital organs. What's that? That's the heart or the liver. So he specifically teaches about that. Individual vital organs cannot be extracted except ex cadavere. You see, I wrote that in italics because he said it in Latin. So Latin is the official language of the Catholic Church. His presentation was in English, but he put ex cadavere. And I asked one of his theologians, did Pope Benedict really understand what a dead body is? And he said, by all means, Pope Benedict knows what a dead body is. And so individual organs cannot be extracted except ex cadavere. And then he says there cannot be the slightest suspicion of arbitration, and where certainty has not been attained, the principle of precaution must prevail. The principal criteria of respect for the life of the donor must always prevail so that the extraction of organs be performed only in the case of his or her true death. Along the same thing, Pope John Paul II says, acknowledgement of the unique dignity of the human person has a further underlying consequences. Vital organs which occur singly in the body can be removed only after death. After death, that is, from the body of someone who is certainly dead, because, and I put that in there, to act otherwise would mean intentionally to cause the death of the donor. Pope John Paul II said that to a transplantation society. The Pope teaches about the gospel, and even if he gets off in some other things, but in order to state it in a way that's very clear, organs which occur singly in the body, the heart or the whole liver, can be extracted only after death. So the teaching is quite clear. I'll only come back to this if I need to come back to it. I don't speak for the Catholic Church. I learned that from a colonel in the Air Force who gave a talk. He says, I don't speak for the general, I don't speak for the president, I don't speak for the Air Force, it's just me. And it's like that. I don't speak for the Catholic Church, I don't speak for the bishops, I don't speak for the Pope, I speak for me. I've learned, though, not to expect much help from other people that would be in prominence. And how is it like this? I think it takes time, to understand these things. Hopefully you understand a few things that you didn't know when you came in. It takes time to learn them and then to teach them. And as my wife said to me more than once, she says, sure, it's easy for you, but you study it all the time. I try to make it so that it's easy for you. What's easy for you? God creates the person. And God creates the person from nothing. And he set it up in such a way that that other things can be reproduced. The deer, the rabbits can be reproduced, but the person can only be created, and it gets created because of the love of God to show his goodness and get a person. And he sets it up that the love of the husband and wife comes together, and there's an instant when it begins. And that instant is so special. There's 2 times when God is clearly here with us. He's here all the time. One is at creation. The other is when the soul separates from the body. The Lutheran Church has some, Missouri Synod has some beautiful writings. When the spirit, with a capital S, is in communication with the spirit, with a small s. So at that time of death, when God and the soul is separating, special time, we should pray a lot. We should pray a lot. The Hail Mary is such a special prayer. Holy Mary, pray for us now and at the hour of our death. Now and at the hour of our death. It's such a special prayer. And when death is close or it seems to be there, pray. Pray the Hail Mary. Pray the Rosary. Okay, statements seem vague or conflicting. I don't think it's very vague about whether you're alive or dead when there's heart beating and there's circulation, and if I tap your knee jumps. I don't think that's vague. You can go in the morgue and find somebody. You won't find any of that. When somebody is dead, when your pet dog, you wouldn't call your pet dog dead while the heart's beating and got circulation. Why would you do it to your neighbor? So anyway, it's only conflicting because of countering the truth. The truth is easy. The person is special, unique, made in the image and likeness of God from creation until the event of death. At the event of death, the soul separates from the body. In your recommended legislature, you recommend universal standard. Where can these universal standards be found? The universal standard, there's been a universal standard for a long time. And it's the way that I learned to declare death. We don't declare somebody dead while they're breathing. We don't declare somebody dead while the heart's beating. We don't declare somebody dead if they respond at all. And then what do? We wait a period of time. Nobody knows for sure how long to wait, but we know that some organs are more sensitive than others. It's a short time till that autolysis begins. And then it isn't in death that we're talking about the destruction of one cell or one organ. It should be in the negative. No one shall be declared dead unless there's destruction of those three systems. How is it done? It can be done, and experimentally. They do it regularly when the patients who get a heart transplant, they get a piece of the heart and they see how much damage there is of that heart in terms of the rejection, so that you can get evidence, and you don't have to see the destruction to know that it's there. But after a period of time, you can know that it's there. How long should you wait? The Uniform Law Commission looked into this. They couldn't find it. When I started to study this subject, I tried to find out how long do you have to wait? 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour? I couldn't find it. They couldn't find it either. You got to know, though, that when I did it, I had to go look up in the journals. I was in the stacks at the library hunting for this. It was part of the art of medicine. The art of medicine is taught from one doctor to another doctor. And so we learned it from the doctors who were more experienced than us, not to declare them dead. And the only thing they would ever say is wait a good length of time. How long is a good length of time? I really can't tell you for sure, but I can tell you that you shouldn't declare them dead till there's destruction of those three systems. Can you say that there's destruction of those three systems while the heart is beating in their circulation? No. To call somebody dead at that time is pretty foolish. Is there anybody lobbying with the Pope and the Vatican to have the church to make something about the death properly? Just so you know, I went to the Pontifical Academy of Life meeting every year, and every year I would come away and say, I'm never going back. And then it would come to the next year, and I would go back and say, the only way I know is if I go and find out what it is. When they had official meetings, meetings, that they not only would not allow me to present, they wouldn't even allow me to be in the room. Yes. The Pontifical Academy of Sciences looked at it in 2005, and you can look at the proceedings of the Pontifical Academy of Science at our website, the Life Guardian Foundation website. It's Finis Vitae, which is the Latin words for end of life. It's there. The meeting was at the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. There were 6 proponents of brain death, 6 oppositions, 6 of each of these for observation, and the proceedings were prepared, and then somebody high up in the Vatican said, "No, don't print it." Chancellor Serrando, I communicated every way that I could with him, and when I still couldn't do it, I went to Rome to see him face to face. "Chancellor, it's important to publish these," and he pulled out a letter in his pocket and showed somebody high up in the Vatican, said, don't publish it. We published it. Roberto de Mattei, who was the director of the Italian Research Council, and myself, we published it. So you can read it. Those proceedings of that, it's called The Signs of Life, February 2005, they wouldn't publish it. We published them. You can read them. What did they do? They had another meeting in 2006, called it the same thing, the Signs of Life Conference. And they had primarily just proponents of brain death. They had only one who was in opposition of brain death, and he testified by Zoom. Yeah, it's all set up. So I'm not against the Vatican. I'm not against the Pope. I'm not against the bishops. But I can tell you, I did everything in my power to get the Vatican to do the right thing. And Pope Benedict said, Pope John Paul has said, Council of Vienne, it's all the right thing, and it's okay. Stay there anyway. Don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I never give up on the church. I never give up, period, in case you don't know that. But I never give up on the church, but I've learned not to expect help. I mean, I don't know what you all did to advertise my coming here, but when I get invited to speak, I don't tell anybody. Why not? Because sometimes the parishioners want me to speak, and then somebody higher up, the pastor or the bishop, hears about it, and then they don't want to hear. Finis Vitae, by the way, we sent a copy of that to every bishop in the United States. Only one acknowledged that he got it. Yeah. So I can't tell you what to do except pray a lot. For someone who is not marked on his or her, can you get that removed? It's important that you know how to do that. You have to go back to the License Bureau and get it removed. But the Anatomical Gift Act says that that's a revocation. It's not a refusal. You still have to have a document of refusal. The cards we give out can serve to a certain degree. I can't guarantee you. The back booklet, the last page, is just like the card that we give out, but it can be notarized. Also, there's instruction in there for an advance directive and a power of attorney for health care. Everybody over the age of 18 has to have a power of attorney for health care. I say, the patient I'm telling you about has a mother and a father and a brother and a sister, and they're not all in agreement. I think that, and once somebody gets to the age of 18, they go to court. You know, I deal with the patient. The mother's in Texas, the son's in an accident in California. By the time she gets there, the court has already appointed a guardian. Once the court gets involved, I mean, Miranda Lawson, 2-year-old girl choked on popcorn in one of the states in the East. But they appointed a guardian. She had 7 siblings and a mother and a father. And they appointed a guardian because who knows why? I think they thought because she choked on popcorn, they were neglectful. Choked on popcorn. We're in the courtroom. There's me, there's a judge, and the father's there, and the siblings are there, and an attorney. I'm not against 30-year-old attorney. I'm not against him at all. But here's this 30-year-old attorney asking questions. The judge asked her questions, not the father, not the siblings. And they disqualified me because they said I didn't have a private practice. They find reason to disqualify me a lot. I have too much of an expert in Montana. I wasn't an expert enough or something. And it goes on all the time. What conditions qualify as a person from being a donor? They take pretty much anybody for being a donor. Sometimes people say, doesn't affect me because I'm too old. The oldest donor I read about was 91. Their organs, I call them Class A organs, Class B organs. What's a Class A organ? Somebody who's 20 years old without disease. And they're worth a lot of money. Okay. You defined end of life or cessation of circulation. Okay. Why is the EEG not indicative of brain death? Flat EEG shows no activity. Are you opposed to them harvesting organs? Yes, of course I'm opposed to them so-called harvesting organs. That's correct. When I lived in Nebraska, that's what we did. We harvested oats and wheat and barley, and that's what they do. The EEG is a recording of electrical activity. It records an electrical activity only from the outer centimeter, like half an inch. Doesn't record anything down below, and so EEG activity can be indicative of a functioning brain. Aiden Halou in Nevada had 3 EEGs that showed activity. They still said she was brain dead. Yeah. They find ways to get around it. They still said she didn't fulfill anybody's criteria. So it goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court in Nevada. I went there to hear the hearings. It was a 7-0 unanimous decision that they weren't convinced what they were telling them was death, and they sent it back to the lower court. Aiden did die, but then the legislator made it such that the Academy of Neurology guidelines are now what's to be used. They say you don't have to tell the relatives when you're going to do an apnea test. You don't have to get permission for that. They put it in the law. Can we get access to the slide presentation? Of course, you can have it somewhere or another. Okay, I'm trying to go through this because I'm getting too late, I can tell. What are the qualifying, what is the quality for the patients that continue treatment? Well, I already told you about Jahai, what she does. Joseph, he got married, has 3 children. Mariana in California, her brothers and sisters, Alan in Montana. I went there, and here was this thing, and what it was a chapter from the Bible, and one of the siblings wrote the whole chapter by memory. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to keep them there? Each and every person, a person is worth more than a golden Cadillac or a golden Lexus. Would you get rid of the golden Cadillac because there was something not quite right about it? No, you wouldn't do it. The golden Lexus. A person is much more valuable than that. How long did it take for those patients to die for their natural death? Okay, here's what natural death comes in there. You hear natural death. Terry Schiavo, you remember Terry Schiavo? She had her food and water taken away. She had an imposed death, but it was a natural death. And natural death is a word to distort our thoughts. You hear it all the time, but there's only one death, and you're alive until you're dead. And there's only one death, so you protect life until death. Not natural death. I mean, use that if you want. Fine. I guess it's better than something else. But on the other hand, death is the absence of life. It's when the soul separates and you have destruction. Well, you all are so nice to keep sitting there while I'm talking. Anyway, I hope it helps. My email address is there. Anybody who wants my slides can have my slides. Just use them in a good way. And if you find something wrong with them, communicate with me. We'll try to straighten it out. What I brought has a lot more than what I presented to you.